Just who is in charge of a power side put to the sword at the G by the Pies, whose two old superstars a week ago suddenly look completely rejuvenised. Fremantle were dismantled by a slick-looking Geelong outfit whose new recruit is blue chip, while Carlton were stunned by the kids of Richmond who sealed their win with a backflip. The Giants knocked off the D's in the dying stages like an old-fashioned thief, thanks to a last-minute goal by the hulking forward presence of Lockie Keith. To dissect round one and look towards a massive round two, this is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub with two-time All-Australian halfback of the St Kilda Mafia, Lee Montagna.
Very good, Rabsy. A lot of big words in that one too, but I liked it.
Rejuvenised.
Yes.
Yeah, that is pretty big, actually. Collingwood and Carlton superstar with a new Instagram channel, Daisy Thomas.
Yes, I like the big word too. Keith.
And the man with a new segment on the Sunday Footy Show, Damien Damo Barrett.
Yeah, Rabsy and boys. And you started your footy career, or actually Lockie Keith started his footy career with you, I should say. That's how long he's been in the system.
He's still going.
He was drafted in 2008.
I think Nathan Brown summed it up beautifully last year when he called his name and goes, I didn't realise he was still on the list.
Yeah. Well, he put his name in lights, didn't he, with the match-winning goal. And terrific game too. It was a good start to the Sunday Rub, but we're well and truly into it now, aren't we, Damo? The footy's back, and you caused a little stir on the weekend with your little bit of a clip at someone for plagiarising. Speaking of the Voldamo, plagiarising some of the work. And
Yeah, he's a thief. He's a thief.
Did you get some good feedback? It was quite funny.
Weirdly, Joey, as you know, in this game, you get normally negative feedback. Nothing but positive on that one, weirdly.
Yeah. I liked it. Although, I must need to bring to the table. Yeah. I know you went hard at people for plagiarising segments and all those sorts of things. Well, I just heard something last night that I need to bring to the table because
just me again,
very close to our own in here. There could be some more plagiarism. Just take a listen to this.
Daisy, the Saints sent 40 goals to the Pies for free.
That is fair dinkum.
Hey.
Fair dinkum.
Fair dinkum.
Well, I wasn't going to say Fugazi.
That's our segment. Fair dinkum or Fugazi. Did you forget where you were, or you just?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Fair dinkum.
What are you doing over there at 7? You're stealing everything.
Yeah, and I went with it early, so now this show shouldn't use it today.
It's footy classified reheated.
I had a chuckle when I heard that one.
I had a chuckle too last night. I was watching your show, and I mean a genuine chuckle. And can we play this too, Joey? Because this is Daisy last night. Now, this is later in the show. I'm still laughing at this response he gave to a question
about where it's going.
A past incident. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, just take a listen.
We played against Bryce Gibbs once he defected across to Adelaide, and we were told not to speak to him for the entirety of the game. So Ed Kerno, who went to tag him...
Who told you to do that?
It might have been a coach at the time.
Mick Malthouse?
A slightly smaller one.
Wasn't as cryptic as I thought in my head.
Who could it be, Joey?
It would have to be Green Shoots man, wouldn't it?
David Teague is also shorter than Michael Malthouse.
Is he?
We'll go with that.
I thought the other bit of audio you were going to play, which I completely agree with, was when you went at the MCG catering. That fridge is getting barer and barer by the week.
It's a joke.
Is there a food stealer as well? as well as a drink stealer?
Well, I know Caro was like, Daisy. All the things Caro says, she's like, Daisy, you can't say that.
Took offence at the food. She goes, there is salads in there. Jog on.
I was agreeing with you. I thought that was a good call.
That should be sorted out, though.
Yeah.
Like, for
I
what
haven't
we do
noticed
and
this.
how
What's
much
happening?
cash is paid, there's just no food.
Well, you buy your own.
I would have. Well,
What
what's
else
the
do you
point
get in
of
life
having
for free?
car, golf clubs, shoes, beer,
very good.
Fair point.
Very good start.
There's a lot of people floating around that media area who aren't in the media as well.
This is going to continue. It's ridiculous.
Name names, Rabsy.
Yeah,
No, I'm not naming any names.
Yeah.
Club officials.
Well, there's
and
just
a bunch of
more
others
media. There's two
and
networks
data
now, and
analysts.
there's everyone.
Mate, Two Man and his little cronies from, you know exactly who.
And the champion data
Yeah,
guys.
you say their name.
Oh,
Yeah.
you rely on them. Don't you
I
start
do.
bagging them.
Now I'm getting stuck eating salad sandwiches. That's not really my go.
First crack and Kingy's laptop would be nothing without the data in there. Well, speaking of the MCG, we've got a huge game kicking off tomorrow night. Carlton versus Hawthorn. We will get your predictions a little bit later on. Fair dinkum or Fugazi. But up next, Damo, big tribunal night last night with 3 cases all losing their appeals. We'll chat about that next on Midweek Grub. Fair dinkum or Fugazi still to come, plus your round 2 predictions. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Joey, Damo and Daisy.
Slightly smaller one.
Now it is time for your news segment. Big tribunal night last night. Let's start with Jackson Archer, please, Damo.
Yeah, we will. And just to sign off, Lynch also failed to have his adjudication downgraded, so he's missing a week for the hit on TDK. And Scrimshaw still has to stick with a 3-week ban after his hit on Ridley. But the Jackson Archer on Luke Cleary one, Joey, it was a contentious one, and it's often not a topic we would delve too deeply into on this Wednesday program. But given the at-stake component to it, the clash and the accidental element to it that was clearly in play, but it still was warranting of a 3-week ban to Jackson Archer. It's yet again another plank in the you just need to be held accountable via the AFL's messaging clearly for whatever damage is done to a player, no matter how it is done. And that's maybe a simple paraphrasing of a wider issue, but that's the first message the game is sending right now.
Yeah, and there are two elements to this, but the first one, now that everyone's on notice, all the players in the competition on notice about the speed that you can run into a contest at. I disagree with the verdict. I find this one hard to accept because you are now basically saying if you run into a contest and a player either goes to ground, stumbles, falls forward, and you run into his legs or he runs into your legs and you crash into him, you're going to miss 3 weeks of footy. I just find that hard to fathom. I get what the AFL is trying to do with concussions, and I understand a lot of the rule changes we've made. But this one it's going to another level now to say if you accidentally collide because you're running in fast and a player stumbles and you hit him, you're going to miss football. I don't agree with it. The second part is the matrix clearly needs to change. If they are now going to suspend players for accidents, there needs to be another mechanism in the matrix to not miss 3 weeks of football for that. So that's a separate point, but either way, I still don't accept and understand the decision, Daisy.
I don't either. The fact that, and if you break it down to a footballing level, when you're defending and there's gap between and space between you and your opponent or the opposition team, they're in offense, you're in defense, they've got the football. Your responsibility as a player in a pressing team to come forward is to close the time and space, take that away and close the distance as quickly as possible. So that's what every player is taught. There'd be 100 examples on the weekend of players doing that. And even with Archer, you see the last step that he takes was about to be sort of a corralling or slowing down.
Once he knew that the player was going to ground.
Yeah, and even just before that, he was like, do I tackle? Am I in? Can I have a play on the ball? That didn't happen. So the expectation now on players to think of, all right, well, do I have the ability to understand that, see the future and he's going to be speared into my shins? It's absolutely ridiculous. You can't be expecting players to do that. If you actually understand the game and what people are taught, that's it. You can't expect him to trot in there and sort of do this and that handball and that Joe the Goose is all the way down the field. From a footballing point of view, from a tactical point of view, they are asking way too much of the players. And I reckon if he had his time again, he'd do the exact same thing.
Yeah,
and so would most
I think
others.
that player would, yeah. Look, just one more on it from my perspective. I get the messaging and the need to clamp down. And I fully am cognizant of all of that because of the litigation that's in play and will continue to be in play. But I still feel there needs to be an element, Joey, and I think it's to your point you made before as well, that there are going to be accidents in this game. Yeah. And you cannot do anything through your legislation by way of behaviour to stamp that element of the game out. It's promoted as a brutal game. The history of the game has celebrated the heavy hits and the within rules heavy hits. This was within rules some time ago. I know there's a concussion at play here, and that is a serious matter, but there are always an element of accident that needs to be, I feel, for us to go ahead as an industry to allow the player to go in at full speed.
Accidental collisions are always going to happen in AFL. It feels like now, there has to be someone at fault. For the sake of whether it's litigation or someone has to be at fault. Even if they
we need to be saying this is not right.
Yeah.
Whereas it was an accident.
Exactly right.
Even the Scrimshaw one, though, like I can put it that was an accident, but I've got no issue when you have a swinging arm, you catch the guy high. His intent was not to go in and flog Ridley, but it happened.
Yeah.
And even the Lynch one, the push from Jacob Wiedering into the contest, we saw one with Jinby at the start of the season. Obviously, this right down the bottom compared to that. The AFL need to have a position on this, I believe, because that's just going to continue. You've got no consequence if you just launch someone into a pack of players. If you want to talk about responsibility and care and decision and what you can do, that is a clear decision you make to shove them into the muck.
Yep. I love coaches who are combative, and Kenny Hinkley is the most recent example of that. He has been at times over his career. He's also tried to show a soft side publicly, but after a 91-point drubbing against Collingwood on the weekend, his first game in his last season as coach, he fronted the wider Adelaide media yesterday, and it was game on.
analyse it a lot, but have you been surprised about the fallout and the narrative around the loss that was already happening after round one?
Sorry, I'm not quite.
Well, in terms of, the fallout and the narrative, quickly it was about how bad the loss was, but then, it goes to you, Josh, all that, the succession plan and everything like that. Are you surprised that it's already kind of started round one?
Is that what you're asking me? That you're asking?
No, I guess that was the kind of what people were saying, that's what people were commentating on, you're surprised it's come up to round one already.
If they are asking that question, they can ask it to me directly. What question do you want to ask me?
I guess, is it, how do you feel it's going? Is there any confusion amongst players, coaches? Yeah, that's the question.
I think we've been really clear on that. There's absolutely no confusion. I've said right from the start, I've got plenty of energy for the job. Josh and myself, we both know exactly what's going on. The whole football club knows exactly what's going on. People have got some opinions based on one loss.
I'm on the same page as you because it feels like in the recent years, the whole strength of Port Adelaide has been Kenny versus the world and us against them. That sort of mentality, I think, is what's helped them. And you were concerned coming into this year whether he's lost that because it is no longer sort of us against the world. But maybe now off the back of that loss and all the talk about where it's at, he can fuel that and use that for his playing group.
I agree with that. I think the fairy tale that I was sort of hoping for at the start of the year, that they start really well and then they get the momentum and it was all right, we're in this for Kenny. I think that's certainly changed after the weekend and what they put out. And now he has to go back to being the hard-edged, hard-nosed coach that demands more from his players, but also doesn't take any shit from anyone when they're asking questions on behalf of other people.
And if there was any doubt whether it was external or internal at the club, it is no, this is Ken's team, this is Ken's final year, and the players, you're either in and doing it for Ken or you're not.
Geez, he's been flogged over the journey over there, hasn't he?
He's got the beating.
He booed last year.
Yeah.
Well,
that's when he had
fans
produced the tears the week after being booed. Yeah,
it's incredible.
No, it is, and the supporters just have never really warmed to him. Certainly the last 4 to 5 years. You guys both played international rules.
Yep,
yeah.
correct.
It's back on the agenda. I spoke with Andrew Dillon yesterday. AFL Chief Executive Officer said that they'd been in discussions with the GAA, the Gaelic Athletic Association officials, for the resumption of that. I personally have never really understood why there's a pursuit of that. I get the need to present a potential representative option at the highest level for AFL footballers. But anyway, they're back on, and I feel it could be part of the conversation around that mid-February space of representative football. Not next year, but the Indigenous All-Stars was such a success because there was player engagement in that. There was club engagement in that. There was fan engagement, and that's the plan at some stage, according to Andrew Dillon, not me, to do so with international rules again.
I think this has got more chance of taking off than a state of origin. Because of the nature of it and historically how it's been played, we go and play with a different ball, so the expectation isn't to play as fast, as hard. There's different rules around what you can and can't do. So for that reason, does it become slightly Mickey Mouse to some extent? Yeah, it probably does in terms of how it's going to be critiqued rather than a side playing another side in a footballing sense. But getting the opportunity to play for your country, it's still a fair bit of pride attached to that. And to do it, you certainly find another level. And I love the fact that this is going to be hopefully played as part of the preseason.
Reward the best players. All Australians deserve that opportunity because of what they've done for the game. And it's a great trip. It's worth doing. But I still do think there is an opportunity for State of Origin. You've got to remember now, there's a whole generation that haven't seen State of Origin. I think there was a one-off game in 2008. It was probably the last time we've seen a big V team play. That's 17, 18 years ago. We've got a whole generation. I think it can work but you've got to spread it out a little bit. So I think if the Indigenous All-Stars want to become a thing, which I reckon would be great, play against Victoria 1 year at the MCG. You will get 80,000. The next year, go and play against the South Australian representative side. You'll fill the Adelaide Oval. Go and play against Western Australia. So that way, you're still getting the excitement from each state. You don't get to play every year so that players get a bit of fatigue with it. You might only get to represent your state once every 3 or 4 years. I think there is still an opportunity for it. And the time slot is right before the season. You're going to play a pracky match anyway. You might as well play a pracky match, representing your state or the Indigenous All-Stars. It's an exhibition game. We understand what it is, but people will still love seeing Toby Green playing in the same forward line as Christian Petrarca, etc.
The 17 years gap probably speaks, I think, volumes of the interest and levels and commitment to it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's not there.
No, I think it's changed. I think that was different
I
those
get
days.
that there's a whole group of people that have never seen State of Origin.
You don't think players would put their hand up to play for Victoria?
No.
100% they would.
I reckon you're more chance of getting them to play for Australia v Ireland than you would be for your state.
I'm with you, Days. For what it's worth, just Andrew Dillon again, he does seem open to reviewing matters. I say that because he's acknowledged that there's been criticism of opening round. We discussed that the past 2 weeks on this particular show, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a significant change to how it's now looked. We've had 2 years of it where there's 4 matches played, 2 each in New South Wales and Queensland on the fixture. We know what happened this year with postponements due to Cyclone Alfred. But the lack of matches in that first game of or first weekend of AFL for the season of 10 teams, I think that's the now overriding debate when it's been considered, and I feel there will be involvement of all teams somehow in an opening round next year. Just my take on the conversation.
That's your feel?
That's my opinion.
National?
Out of the
2 games in Perth, 2 in South Australia, 4 in the northern states, and 1
something
in
involves
Melbourne.
everyone.
Yeah,
I think I don't know how
that'll
that.
work.
I don't claim to know how that could look, but I think to their credit, the AFL, they've listened to what the fans and the clubs are saying, and he's committed to a review. So let them see.
Is
how that
there
looks.
a possibility in a world where we could have the Q Clash, Battle of the Bridge, big games in Melbourne, so Carlton, Richmond stays, Collingwood, Essendon, you go to a derby in Perth and Adelaide?
I think you save the showdowns for twice a year, a bit later on when you still get massive. Opening round, you just need to have. It doesn't matter.
Opening round though, like if
still
you're
get
going to
massive
make it,
crowds.
you reckon?
Yeah.
We got massive crowds when they finally got around to playing 9 matches in a round
That's
this
right,
week. It was
yeah.
the most attended round of football in the history of the game
But
this week.
if it's every team involved, doesn't that just make it round 1?
Yeah, and that's that's been the argument.
Yes.
Yeah. I open the season with all
Yeah.
18 teams. Yeah, just 2 more quick ones. Curnow, Michael Voss, as of this morning, Wednesday morning, has said that he is officially back. Charlie Curnow for the Blues. They've got a massive game days against the Hawks on Thursday night.
They certainly do, and they need to provide a lot more than what they did on Thursday night. That forward line without Charlie is very bare. Harry Mackay is doing his best, but they just don't have the manpower at the minute. Their smalls aren't getting the job done as they probably would like. The midfield's still deep. The back's probably a touch light on, but the forward line without one of those 2 big boys becomes bare very quickly.
Fair dinkum or Fugazi is still to come, plus your round 2 predictions. By the way, get game day ready with BWS. BWS is here for it with right drinks, real cold, real close. See BWS website for store locations. Choose to drink wise. Fair dinkum or Fugazi next on the Midweek Rub. Daisy Thomas, strictly off the comparison of 1 game, Dimmer's Suns have grown the F up.
Correct. Fair dinkum. Do I say correct or fair dinkum?
Fair dinkum.
Sorry.
Who's the fair dinkum on the show?
Hang on, I can do it for you.
Fair dinkum.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. I think that is fair dinkum, and I've taken a position this year that I'm big on them. I saw improvement over the pre-season. Absolutely delighted with what I saw against the West Coast Eagles because we had a few concerns and a few question marks on what they could produce. That was absolutely dominant. I'm glad they looked after me, and hopefully they can continue to do it now. A win away from home as well. Hey, we've started.
Joey, veterans like Scott Pendlebury will be the sub more often in 2025.
Yeah, I do. I think that's fair dinkum. I think we'll see some of the other Collingwood veterans play the sub role. I think you'll see Dangerfield do it at times, Nat Fyfe, guys like Travis Boak. I think it's just really smart. They're there. If they're needed to play a full game, they can obviously do it. But ideally, you're keeping them fresh and you're getting them for the point end of the season. I think it's a smart move.
Touched on it off the top, Damo, but the AFL is at risk of losing the paying public with tribunal decisions like last night.
Fugazi, because as much as the fans complain about stuff, Rabsy, they still turn up and they still watch. I can get the sentiment of what you're saying, and I know what you've reflected upon the fans. They're not happy with it. I think that's an issue, and I think Joey articulated, I think, our side of it, the media response to it really well only a matter of moments ago on this show. So I'm saying Fugazi, but I get what you're saying.
Daisy, Collingwood's triple M's will cause damage this season.
Yeah, that's fact. Sorry, that's fair dinkum. Membry, my check. And, of course, you got mixed day there. It looked really nice on the weekend. And why not when you've got a player that's kicking 40 goals, if you can do that again in Timmy Membry, makes it easier on the rest of them and a triple threat.
Joey, Sam Mitchell is already the most footy smart coach in the game.
That's a tough one. There's some good footies. There's some smart. No, I'll say Fugazi. I still think Chris Scott's got that mantle, but Sam's heading absolutely in the right direction, so I wouldn't be surprised, but not quite yet. Chris Scott, for me, is the smartest coach in the league.
Speaking of Chris Scott, Damo, Geelong are already top 4 locks.
Fair dinkum. I just put him in my pre-season ladder predictions in the top 4 somewhere for 15 years, and it's usually pretty close to the mark.
Daisy, you were at the game. In terms of losses, Melbourne's one on the weekend was a good one.
That's genuine.
Fair dinkum.
Sorry.
He's trying to think of all these different words.
I just literally got the thesaurus out. Oh, it's thesaurus. Now, that is fair dinkum. It may come back, though, to bite them in the bum. I think in a season where we're going to see it as even as ever, those ones where you're in a position to win and you can't quite hold on is unfortunate. They put up a good showing, undemand against a very good side who we think will go deep. But it was a gallant effort, but I think it'll bite them in the backside.
Damo, if Port lose to Richmond, Ken should hand over the keys to Carr this weekend.
I still say Fugazi on that. I feel they're in this arrangement right up until the point it's mathematically impossible to make the 8. What it will do, though, Rabsy, is ramp up everyone who else feels that Josh should be coaching right now, but I'll say Fugazi.
Kenny should just bring boxing gloves to his next press conference and just fight everyone.
Joey, Jay-Z's first feature article yesterday as chief of the Herald Sun was $1 to be featuring Scott Pendlebury.
100%. He's just got.
No, you got to say fair dinkum, not 100%.
Sorry. Yes, fair dinkum.
Come on.
He's just gone straight to his favourites in his phone and said, "I need a big double page feature," and that was a very good read actually. So it's a good story, and I only read the first paragraph.
Has the
I
same
saw it was Pendles and went, of course. Good on you, Jay.
Has the same market got $1.80 for Simon Goodwin being the second?
Nice day, mate. Well, Joey, speaking of our man Jay-Z, the Sunday Rub journo slot is now the most sought-after spot in media.
Ooh.
They are coming out of the woodwork to reach
Name
out.
names.
Daisy and I have already had people reach out asking
names.
if there's an availability.
Caro, she wanted to be a part of it.
Yes,
You
Mike
had a
last
missed
night.
phone call from someone.
I did
Mike
too.
Sheehan reached out and said,
Mike
"Can I come back?" I said, "Sorry, Mike, that's the old days. We've got plenty. They're all coming
Godfather.
out. So we'll find someone. We'll find a good replacement."
They need to bring some content because we were stuffed without Jay.
Just remember, though, a lot of people bag Triple M in the written press. A lot of Herald Sun people, so just lock them out.
Play some
We'll
audio.
get Robbo back.
Play some audio
Please.
here, Daisy.
Wiedering fell over, Mansell kept going, so did Lawler. Richmond streaming forward to try and ice the game. A long kick into a vacant 50. The ball rolls and rolls and rolls. Boot to ball. Seth Campbell got boot to ball. And a handstand after it as well. The MCG explodes. The kids are all right.
Daisy Thomas, Jack Heverin is the most underrated caller in footy.
Fair income from probably external. I think in here we all understand how good he is, but that was a bloody good call,
Yeah, it was a
wasn't
good
it? And
call,
the kids are all right. He's a great
What a
line
great
at the
line.
end.
And he went out. We've got to remember that's on the Thursday. He's gone with that.
Yeah.
It lasted all through the weekend.
No, that was brilliant. And, of course, the celebration from Seth Campbell.
Yes.
Like, this is what Hawthorn has done for the game.
Yep.
There's no way in hell he would have done that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was he on a list 2 years ago? Maybe that could have been the reason. But
Well, I got that. The follow-up question was, the AFL need more backflips.
absolutely. That should be part of pre-season training. You've got your weights, you've got your running, you've got skills, and then you've got celebration training. More of it.
Hey, Damo, I want to ask you this one. No one was more surprised about Lockie Keefe's match winner than our man Nathan Brown after he said this last year.
Long of the wing, McLean had the arms chopped, got one high as well. And the Sydney ball. Hayden McLean in his fourth final today.
Come back around.
Genuinely thought Lockie Keefe had retired.
I was surprised to see him here today.
I can assure you he's out there, Nathan.
Yeah, fair dinkum. I too had to just check the CV of Lockie after that goal on the weekend because I thought he was going to spray the kick for starters. 2008 was when he was drafted. So
8 1-year deals?
Well, and as we know, within that time frame, he didn't get a game until 2011. So he missed 2009 and 10 as a listed player, then missed another 3 years, 2 for a drug ban, and another year around that period. It's one of the great journeyman storylines of all time,
Should
particularly
celebrate.
now you add the goal, the match-winning goal of round 1 in 2025.
In a game that he was pants by Max
Yes,
Gawn
another
for
element to
that
it.
part.
Yeah.
But also he's got the two good things going for him. He's a great bloke and he's also tall enough that he's a handy backup for everything.
And just finally with you as well, Damo, GWS showed the blueprint that North will follow on the weekend to beat the D's at Marvel Stadium.
Fugazi.
He's back.
Yeah, it didn't take
Well,
long.
you tried to get me going last week. I said they were a chance, but I still didn't pick them.
Were you
And
happy with what you saw at least?
Why would you be happy? They're always happy. They're always happy losing.
No, I ran out with 5 minutes to go.
Oh, yeah, well, they always are. they just
Not
lose,
always.
Joey?
They're not always having 5 minutes to
all I
go.
know is there's rarely a win attached to the outcome.
Well, that is the Sunday Rub game this weekend. We're going to get your predictions next on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Joey, Damo, Daisy. Some huge games in round 2, and you can hear them all on Triple M and the Listener app. Starting tomorrow night, Joey, it is Carlton versus Hawthorn at the Triple MCG.
Yeah, I hope the Carlton fans turn out. I want another 80,000 plus. We know the Hawks fans will come, and why wouldn't they? Geez, I've never. That was as bad as I've seen a team perform. Carlton, can they respond? I expect a response. They're going to play with more effort, more intensity. They're going to go harder. Are they going to be good enough to beat the Hawks? I don't think so.
How exciting would it be, though, just I think for the general football watcher, if they were to knock off the Hawks in this game? It'd genuinely light up the competition.
Yep.
I don't expect it to happen like you. I expect a response, but I just think Hawthorn just finds a way. And even the numbers that they produced last week being in the negatives against Essendon, they still won quite convincingly. So Hawks for me.
I'm going to tip the Blues in this one.
Ooh.
The response is coming, and it should, and it has to. 41 points up. That part of the game was very good. Yes, they took the foot off the brake and probably looked to the finish line too early. I think they can respond if they replicate that first half for a lot longer. They'll be in it, and I think they can win.
Okay.
Barris and battle up against Mackay and Kerno. That's
Good fun.
That's pretty juicy, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Damo, the Bulldogs versus Collingwood, also at the Triple MCG. The Bulldogs, or Footscray, we should say, celebrating their 100th year.
Yeah, and I thought they were really good last week against North Melbourne with a really depleted lineup, which they're basically going to have to go with again. And Collingwood, we all expected it last week on this show, didn't we, that they would bounce back from their opening round loss to GWS, and they did so in really good fashion. So pies for me in that one.
Pies for me.
Yeah, this should be close. This could be a 50-50. I'm going to tip Collingwood, but it wouldn't shock me if the Bulldogs came out and played
Yeah, hope
really
for
well.
the Bulldogs in their big celebration game. They
Yeah.
put up a decent fight.
Essendon versus Adelaide, Daisy, also a very interesting game.
It is. The Crows couldn't have been more impressive. Essendon, once they got going, were pretty good. I'm going to tip the Bombers for what it's worth. Still not 100% sold on Adelaide. Yeah, they were good, but I don't know where I have them this year, and for that reason, I have a little bit more confidence in the Bombers.
I'm bullish on Adelaide this year. Until Essendon can learn to defend their back 50, I can't see how they're going to stop the Crows from scoring. With Thilthorpe, Fogarty, Walker, Rochelle in form, Rankin and Dawson down there. Good luck, Ben Mackay and co.
Langford's unavailability for the Bombers is making me sway my pick to the Crows.
Port Adelaide versus Richmond. You expect the Power to bounce back here?
Yeah,
Joey?
lock it in. Yeah, that's my certainty. Port will win this one.
We locked it in
absolutely.
last week, Joey, against Richmond. Sorry.
Yeah,
we locked Carlton in against Richmond.
Yeah, but this is my certainty. Port Adelaide, Port
I'll
Adelaide
come with
will
you,
win.
Joey. Certainly for me too.
Yeah, Port for me.
St Kilda versus Geelong at Marvel Stadium, Damo.
The easy answer is the Cats. I do expect a response from the Saints, as we are saying in a few of these assessments already, but the Cats will be too strong.
Can Ross bore Geelong out of it? We've seen it before, and against this
Yeah, but
club
they
as
don't
well.
play that way, though, St Kilda. They actually now try and play with speed and play ball movement, which leaves them exposed defensively.
I think they should reassess pretty quickly.
I'm taking young Noah to this one, and poor fella, he's not going to like what he sees. Cats will
Put him in a Cats jumper and he'll love it.
Might be on the early train at three-quarter time, Joey.
Half time, I think. I'll stay till half time.
I've told you what it's done to my sons following
Yeah,
north
scarred
over
them.
journey.
Yeah.
Poor old Noah.
Brisbane versus West Coast, capping off just a remarkable day of footy for Fox on Saturday. There, Daisy.
Yeah, Triple M will have this all covered. Brisbane will be winning this one. The West Coast Eagles, very average.
The Sunday rub game is North Melbourne versus Melbourne there, Joey.
Oh, I'm giving North a chance. Here.
Oh.
Yes, I'm giving North Melbourne a chance. I think they can improve. Melbourne were gallant. It was terrific. I'm going to tip North Melbourne as my outsider for the weekend.
This would be a huge get.
Yeah, just want to go with
I'm not tipping them, but I hope for your sake they do win.
And for Damo's sake.
Nah,
Demons.
stuff him.
Just that? Just demons?
Just Demons. Give us a bit more.
Demons.
Why can't North Melbourne win?
Because they don't win.
Very good. That'll do.
Ever.
The Suns and the Giants both have the bye. So, Damo, this is a massive
It is.
game to
It is
finish
massive.
off the round. Fremantle versus Sydney. Prime time, 6:10 on a Sunday.
I don't want to put a line through Fremantle because I've still had pre-season hopes for them, but I'm not giving up on the Swans either. I'm just going to go the Swans, though.
This is it in Freo? Says SCG here.
In Perth.
Yeah,
no,
that's
it's in
in
Perth.
Perth.
6
That's
o'clock
bad.
Sunday. I love 6 o'clock Sunday. Freo win.
Straight into first crack.
No, bounce in between, then first grade.
right, no.
You gotta
Is it
stay up late.
straight into a bottle of red and
Yeah,
nine
that's
for
right.
Darryl? Fremantle for me. Fremantle, I think they'll be bouncing back. I'm giving every side at least one mulligan in the early part of this season.
Well, you can hear every game, as you said, Daisy, across round 2 on Triple M and the Listener app, starting tomorrow night with the Thursday Rub. Special guest host Nathan Noodles Brown. Kate McCarthy is back, Isaac Smith and Jay-Z Clark, the Chief, out of Carlton versus Hawthorn at the Triple MCG.
Hang on, he's doing Thursday, but not Sunday.
He quit Sundays, but not Thursdays. Hang on a minute,
Yeah.
Daisy.
Call Jay Clark.
Get that bottle of wine back.
The only show you can hear the Chief of the Herald Sun on Triple M is the Thursday Rub. You can hear it from 6 p.m. Eastern.